Hi guys, and welcome to Truth with Hannah. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Truth with Hannah. This video is actually 2 days late. I went through a lot of technical issues. My phone running out of storage. I reset my phone. It wouldn't let me log into iCloud. Couldn't download any apps. After that recovered, wouldn't let me log into my TikTok. I made a TikTok account. I'll put it up somewhere. And then my phone was on 4%. I went to charge it, and my charger was snapped. That was great. I might have had a little bit of a mental breakdown, guys, but it's okay. I survived. Okay, so this video is going to be about identity, something that I struggled a lot with, knowing who I was, finding myself amongst the crowd, let's say. Identity is also something that's very dangerous to look for because, as I can testify to, you can find it in like the complete wrong place. So, backstory, I first went to a very diverse primary school. Cultures, skin colors, everything was just so diverse. And then I moved to a primarily white school. And by primarily white, me and my siblings were the only like actual black people. There was like mixed people, but we were the only like black people. Being like in assemblies, like they'll take a picture, and when you see the dark patch, that's me or one of my siblings. Yeah, that was great. And like I was never bullied or anything for that, but just realizing I was different made me try and work 2 times extra for like everybody's like approval. Um, that also made me find made me find my value in other people's opinions, which I can now say that is so dangerous because like people are not stable foundation. We all change, our emotions change, etc., etc. And so I find myself in like really bad low days just because like somebody doesn't like me, just because like somebody got picked over me. That was a really big thing of mine. I thought like the only reason like because everybody would get like a boyfriend or something, and I'll be like the only reason I'm single is because like I'm black and ugly. Like that was kind of my mindset, like so young, from like maybe I'd say seven's like when I proper was like, yeah, I proper realized it, and all that happened, and like I really devalued myself, devalued my culture, devalued who I was as a person. And I remember like just small things like my friends would be like, oh, what did you eat for dinner? And I'll eat like fufu, and I'll tell them, oh, I had shepherd's pie and some chips. Like unnecessarily lying to just try and win people over. And like nobody actually cared. Like nobody cared. And so I did that for like a while, years, a lot of years actually. To the point that like I generally can recognize myself in day-to-day life. Like I pretend at school and everywhere else, and then when I get home I'm left with a version of Hannah that I didn't even know. So that just messed me up. Then later on in life, when I was faced with a bigger decision of, in this point, it's very important to know who you are. Um, I didn't know who I was, and so in essence, I failed. I failed that situation, but I will talk about that situation in a further down video. So yeah, that's why I'm so passionate about trying to make people know who they are, and not just who you are, like who you are not only to you but to God. That's going to lead me to the woman of the well at the well. Sorry, because when Jesus first came to her, he asked for water, and she straight up told him, "I'm a Samaritan and you're a Jew." In those days, the Jews were held, I think, above the Samaritans, and so she was telling Jesus that I'm unworthy of you talking to me. Like, why are you talking to me? Jesus then said, if only you knew what God had in store for you and who you were talking to, you'd ask me for a drink. And so to me, it's like Jesus is telling her that right now, it's not even about who you are. It's not about who you are to yourself or who you are to other people. In this situation, it's who you are to God and who I am to you. And it reminded me also of Gideon, because when the angel came to Gideon and he addressed him as mighty man of valor. And Gideon, as we know, or we don't know, he was the least in the least tribe of Israel. He was the least of his father's household, meaning he was the least. But in God's eyes, he was a mighty man of valor. So it didn't matter who he was to himself, and it didn't matter who he was to other people. Which brings me back to the point of we find our identity in Christ. When Jesus tells us, when God tells us, this is who you are my child, at that point, we take that as our truth. At that point, we do not say to ourselves, oh no, but I've done this. Oh no, but I don't even know who I am. Oh no, this person told me that I'm worthless. That's not what we associate with in that time. Jesus tells us we are his child. By all means, you are his child. Jesus tells us we are a mighty man, mighty woman of valor. And in that moment, that's the truth. That truth cannot be your reality at the moment, but if you follow in the steps of what Jesus is trying to tell you, what God's trying to tell you, by all means, you'll end up at that destination. So, after that, Jesus saying, if you knew who I am, you ask me for living water. The woman gives him a reason as to why he can't save her, telling him, you don't have a rope. She also goes on to say, and do you think you're better than my ancestor Jacob, who built this well? And I think that's also something that we really do as well. Like, we come to a point that we think we are like not worth saving, or we are too far that God can't reach. She's talking to Jesus, but she knows that in her truth, the only way I can get water is through a well. This is why we have to eradicate our realities, because you see, in her mind, she's thinking water, the well. But Jesus is thinking living water, I produce it, we don't need a well. And so if we keep limiting what God tells us to do, or we limit the power he has in our situation, we will never actually truly understand, because our human nature is limited, quite literally. Like, we will generally not fully understand what he's saying, but Jesus then replies her and tells her that, first of all, her identity of being a descendant of Jacob is not going to carry her the whole way. He showed that her identity of being Jacob's descendant and Jacob building this well for her falls short. There's loopholes in it, and he shows himself to be complete. The woman then realizes Jesus has something that she doesn't have, and she goes on to say, then give me this water that you have, because my well doesn't provide it. My well, I have to come and keep getting that. I have to keep coming to recheck my identity, etc., etc. So give me this water that you have, that I'll be secure. And Jesus says, go and get your husband. Right. Why do I think Jesus said, go and get your husband? This is just my take on this story, guys. Jesus said, go and get your husband, because to me, that's a vulnerable place in her life. As we hear later on in the story, like, it's a vulnerable place in her life that she's had 5 husbands. She's with a guy she's not even married to. And so Jesus wants her to expose her vulnerability to him. And she does, and she tells him, I don't have a husband. And Jesus replies, yes, because you've had 5 husbands, and the man you're living with now is not even your man. To me, Jesus in that segment was trying to show her that he knows who she is. Like, It's not because he thinks she's somebody different. He doesn't think she's holier than who she is. She's a Samaritan. Jews don't talk to Samaritans. He knows the girl has had five men in her life, and she's with a new man. That's not even hers. He wanted to show her, I know the depths of who you are, and yet still I'm talking to you. Yet still I will provide you with living water. So, what we're taking away from this story is that our identities are not found in ourselves. Our identities are not found in what people think about us. It's not found in our past. It's not found in our present current situation. Our identity should always be found in Christ. Should always be found in how God looks at us, how God sees us, who God initially designed us to be. And to finish off the story of the woman at the well, she actually went on to win many souls. She went back to her village and she told everybody about the Messiah that has come. And many people believed, first because of her testimony, but next because they actually heard Jesus for themselves. So not only did she hear how Jesus thought of her, or not only with his words, but with his actions, see how Jesus valued her, she actually accomplished what was set out for her. So I think that's a very good lesson for us to learn, that, it doesn't matter our circumstances, we can go out and accomplish what Jesus has set out for us. She came to the world by herself. That was not really the norm, but I mean, I'm guessing because of her reputation of her 5 husbands and counting, that nobody really associated with her. But when she went back a new person. She went back with a new identity. And she was bold and unashamed to tell them, Jesus told me everything I've done. Can he be the Messiah? And so I just want everybody to be bold. Nobody can hold your past against you. Nobody's perfect. As Jesus said, whoever hasn't sinned, throw the first stone. Like, everybody has their journey. Everybody has where they started from, but we all have our identity in Christ. And that's our end goal, to reach that identity and at the end finish the race that God has set before us. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and I will see you guys next time. Pray that my week is a whole lot better.